Hello, Braves fans, and welcome back to another edition of Indian Hills Sports Report. I'm Peter Carr.
And I'm Andrew Burgess. And we're going to start the show off today with girls soccer. Then we're going to move to boys football, and then to Terry Conti's trainer tip of the month. And then that'll finish out the show.
Sadly, girls soccer came to a close the other night against Springfield Northwestern, losing 1-0. And Andrew, this must have been a devastating loss for the Lady Braves.
Oh, it was, Peter, and that's mainly due to the fact that the Braves controlled the game just right out from the start and pretty much throughout. You know, the ball was on the opposite side. The ball was on Northwest side pretty much the entire game, and you know the Braves controlled it, and then they just get a lucky goal late in the game, and you know that's just the way it went. The Braves just couldn't finish their shots, and even though they outplayed the other team, they didn't outscore them.
And Andrew, to my understanding, it was kind of a fluke shot that went in. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, yeah. What happened was there's a corner kick previous to the shot, and the ball kind of got knocked around a bit. And, you know, Indian Hills defense was just jostled and was out of place for a second. And so there was a long cross, and then the girl just knocks it right in the corner. And Sarah Wiggers tried to react, but when you're one-on-one with the goalie, it's just real hard not to score.
I mean, it's got to really be tough for this Braves team. Such high expectations going into this year. You know, defy the limits. That was their saying for the whole year. You know, they wanted to go back to state again, and to not make it there. You know, was it still a successful season? That's the real question.
Oh, definitely, Peter. I mean, you can't measure their success on whether or not they went to state. They played very well. It's a very good team, and they really filled a lot of the positions that they lost last year. And you know, this is a relatively young team. It does have quite a few seniors. Some main ones include Joe Hoffman, Danielle Levy, Sarah Wiggers. The list goes on. But they've got some players that can move up and fill those positions. We have two excellent goalies that can step up for Sarah. They won't be Wiggers, but they can fill the position, and that's Lindsay Wiebold and Ashley Daniels. And so, you know, I mean, we've got some players that can step up and fill those positions. So I think this season, you know, was really, you know, it was a growing year, and next year can be even better.
Definitely. They definitely have a lot of maturing to do. And you look, Brooke Rogers will be a senior next year. You got Meredith Snow, another year of experience. So you definitely have a lot of good players coming back, and they should have great success next season.
It's hard for us at Indian Hill to describe in words just exactly what happened on Friday night. Peter, the football game was a heart-wrenching, emotional, stressful, season-starting, season-ending, you know, playoff beginning game. I just don't even know what to say about it. It was just amazing.
Andrew, it really was an amazing game. In fact, I think it was probably the best football game I've ever played. And actually, you could ask most of the players on the team, it's probably the best football game they've ever played in or been a part of.
Peter, it's probably the best football game that any of the fans at Indian Hill have ever seen at Indian Hill. I think it tops the Reading game from 2 years ago, in which we lost in triple overtime during homecoming. It tops that game, and that game was exciting, I'll tell you what.
You know, one thing I think this game, you know, you start off in the game early and the Braves are losing 21-7 at halftime. It's the first time all year they've gone in at halftime losing. So, you know, that's tough to overcome. And it was funny, our coaches were sitting there talking to us. Actually, it was Coach Topping who was sitting there, and he said, you know, the thing is, champions win games like this. You know, like when you're down, champions come to play, and they come to win games. And that's definitely what happened with the Braves.
Peter, you know, you take a look. Last week against Purcell Marion, the Braves came out, and they started off, you know, right from the first play of regulation when they go 88 yards, Jake Kendall for the kickoff return for a touchdown. And what happens during this game? The same thing, only against the Braves. Roger Bacon takes the first kickoff and runs it back for a touchdown. They really set the pace of the game. And, you know, it took a really long time for Indian Hill to get control of that game. In fact, that didn't happen until really 4 minutes left into the fourth quarter.
I mean, yeah, that's really true. Indian Hill didn't have control of the game. I think one of the biggest surprising thing is our whole team, we were watching film, and you look at each defensive lineman, you know, as an offensive lineman, you look at players. And I was so shocked by the play of number 91 on Roger Bacon. He was an unbelievable player. And didn't really expect that. I'm watching films, he didn't look that great. Mm-hmm. But he came out to play on Friday night and played unbelievable and gave us a lot of trouble on the offensive line. And, you know, that spelled trouble for Sherp was getting a lot of different pressure and stuff. So it really was
Oh,
difficult.
definitely. And, they also had some all-star receivers. They had number 21 who scored, 2 touchdowns in the first half. And their quarterback had an awesome arm. He could just bomb the ball all day. He had one throw that he threw the ball 60 yards for an incomplete pass. He overthrew his receiver down the field. And, they just had a lot of talent. And that's really what threw a wrench into Indian Hill's game at first. But I'll tell you what, once we got it under control, once we started playing our game and took control of the game, we really handled it well.
I mean, the interesting thing is, Andrew, is the fact that some people really didn't believe that we had a chance of winning this game. There are even teammates that have come up and we've talked about it, and they didn't even believe that we could win the game. You get into the fourth quarter and, that punt went over Shea's head.
Oh, yeah.
And that was just difficult. And then they came right back out and capitalized on that and got the score. Just a nice little pass down the sideline, and they capitalized on that. And so Roger Bacon was ahead again, and Indian Hill was down by about 15, wasn't it?
Yes.
In the fourth quarter. And, that's tough to come back for. We could have hung our heads and we could have given up and could have been, what a good season we had, 10-0. But
Peter, that's not what you did. You scored 21 points straight in the fourth quarter for the win. And, these scores weren't just the normal Indian Hill scores where you throw the ball down the field and, you run in. I mean, we had one of those, and those are pretty exciting. But these scores, they took a lot out of us. I mean, they really, they were just such a stressful experience for everyone that was there. You had John Spatz, who caught an unbelievable pass and took that into the end zone. Then we had Case Kuzno, who intercepted a ball after, the Braves scored with Tommy Zanders. He intercepts the ball, runs it in the end zone to give the Braves the first lead of the game. And then the next play is one for the century, which is the 2-point conversion that the Braves tried to convert, and they did amazingly. Roger Bacon called a timeout, then we came back on the field, got set to play, and then immediately Scherpenberg got run into. Roger Bacon broke through our line, grabs him by the shirt, starts dragging him down, grabbing onto his ankle. He bobbles the ball for a little bit and then just wings it into the end zone, and Case Kuzno is standing right there to catch it for the 2 points.
I mean, Andrew, the one thing is it was key plays. There were about 5 or 6 different key plays during that game that really decided it. Chase Daniels comes up with that fumble recovery off Guidi's sack, and
oh, yeah.
Kevin McFarland comes up with that interception at the end of the game, or Case's interception. All the plays you mentioned, there were key plays that had to happen for the Braves to win. And the thing about that game is, afterwards, I think both teams were pretty happy with how the game went. It was a battle and it was a struggle the whole game, and it was just an overall great sporting event and an atmosphere there on Friday night. And the fact is, the sad thing is, one team had to lose that game, and luckily it wasn't Indian Hill.
That's right, and that's the main good that came out of this is Indian Hill had a struggle. They were down a lot, but they fought through it and they stayed there for the win, and that's what really counts. And I think this was a really good learning experience for a team going into our next game and into the tournament, because we're going to have to face a lot tougher teams than Roger Bacon. It's good that they played up to their best potential and played their hardest game and gave it their all, because that really tests us and gives us, a really good experience for games to come.
I mean, one thing you have to be happy with as players is how many fans came out to the game on Friday night. That was unbelievable. There was unbelievable energy there, and that really probably propelled the Braves into the victory. I mean, without all those fans, I don't really know if the Braves would have been as successful as they were.
That's right. And now we have an interview with Case Kuzno and Michael Scherpenberg. Here's Pat.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Mike Scherpenberg and Case Kuzno, 2 of the captains on the Indian Hill Braves football team. Now, guys, bringing back Friday's game, I want to talk about your last home game at Indian Hill. What did it mean to you 2 guys?
Felt good to end our season and our career at Indian Hill with a win, so it's always good to have a W for our fans.
Yeah, exciting win for the fans. Should get them pumped up about next game.
Now, you guys were talking about Friday's game. I think if you're talking about it, you have to bring up that extra point. Was that a set play, or, did that just come from, middle of nowhere? What were you 2 guys, how did it play out?
Well, actually, before the play, Case comes up to me and tells me he's going to be in the opposite corner because I was supposed to roll out to the right. And, I was just like, yeah, right, Case, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it just happened. I saw him standing in the end zone by himself. So I was like, all right, Case. So I just threw it to him.
And now, looking forward to the next game against Thornville Sheridan. What have you guys been doing all week to prepare for that?
We have to stop Sheridan, their run game. They're real big and powerful, so we have to stop the run game. And then when we have the ball, we have to score quick, score often.
Yeah, we're going to try to tire them out because they're big boys. So if we tire them out, we should do all right.
Thanks, Case and Sherp. Good luck to you guys on Friday. And back to you two in the studio.
Thanks, Pat. And the boys' football next game will be played at Springfield North against Thornville Sheridan. And Peter, you know, this is going to be a good game. They're ranked, they were the 5th seed. They had a little bit of an upset in their last game, so they're coming off of that. And, you know, I think the Braves can put up a good fight and should come out with the victory.
I mean, one thing about this team that's going to cause the Braves a lot of trouble is their offensive line. Their offensive line is absolutely huge. I think their average weight's probably around 250. The smallest player on their offensive line is their center, who's 185. But other than that, they got a guy that's 245 playing right guard. Their left tackle's about 287, I believe, 297. So they got a 300-pounder. They got guys that are way up there in the weight class that Indian Hill really can't compete against those guys. So Indian Hill's going to have to use their speed and athleticism to get around these big players. And the one thing about this team, Andrew, is that they have a lot of predictability when they run the ball. They run a lot to their bench. You'll notice that in the game. They run, even the special teams and different things, they run to their team's bench, which is interesting. And the fact that they just run the ball continuously, even though they run a little bit of spread like Indian Hill does, but they're a running team behind that big, powerful offensive line. I think the only way, and Coach Seipel has always said this year, the only way Indian Hill will lose is if we play a team that keeps our offense off the field by controlling the clock. And with this rushing team, we're really afraid of that. So hopefully I look for Indian Hill to receive the ball right away, and try to just put a couple points in the end zone like they did against Bellevue.
Peter, I think that's really a good strategy. As long as Indian Hill, you know, you can say we're not going to have the ball as much either way, just because our offense doesn't take up as much time off the clock because we're so passing oriented. But I think if we just can score on our first 2 possessions, really set the tone of the game, and just, even though we may not be on the field as much, our offense may not be, as long as we're scoring at least with something, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown or something, as long as we get points on the board every time our offense has the ball, we should win, bottom line.
Definitely, Andrew. Indian Hill just needs to come out strong, and they will ensure the victory, like you had said. And now we're going to go to Terry Conti, our trainer here at Indian Hill, with the tip of the month.
Thanks, guys, and here's your sports medicine tip of the month. A good stretching program should be done before and after activity to help prevent injuries. A good stretching program can also help warm up the muscles and also improve your flexibility. When incorporating a stretching program, you should do it after a good warm-up, which you could do it running around the football field or basketball court, which either, it doesn't matter. But once you start a stretching program, you want to make sure that you stretch each muscle group at least 15 to 20 seconds. And once you established what your stretching routine is going to be, it should take about 10 minutes to complete. Now, you should also stretch after practice, and this is good because this also helps decrease, or helps cool the body down afterwards. So remember, to prevent injuries and to increase your flexibility, a good stretching program before an activity is a must. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Terry. Next week's show will include a recap from Indian Hill's second playoff game against Thornville Sheridan. And it will include a special segment from our Indian Hill cheerleaders.
If you have any information that you think would help to better our show, you can contact Peter and I by email at ihsportsreporter@hotmail.com. And if you want to call us directly, you can call 272-4635. You can also log on to the web and go to www.ihtn.net.
For all of us here at Indian Hills Television Network, I'm Peter Carr.
And I'm Andrew Burgess.
See you next time.
You're in the